Every recruiter that I've ever talked to, they absolutely
This is the
hate having
worst.
to do data entry and admin heavy stuff and things like that. We are well into AI development and really cool stuff is coming out. There's a lot of stuff where AI can actually do the work for you, especially the very time consuming, low return on investment type activities.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenley. Welcome back to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today we've got a great Tactical Tuesday episode ahead of us, but before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show here. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders, those who are shaking up the space, while other days we cover things like trending topics. Stop by every Tuesday like today for a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something that's going to help you drive better results in your day-to-day. And occasionally you get a mic drop episode from Matt where he shares something he's been thinking about within the recruitment space and wants you to know. Now, as a reminder, if you like the content that we share here on the show, make sure that you subscribe for more. All right, today's Tactical Tuesday. There is a lot of advice about how to recruit. I mean, a lot. I'm not a recruiter by trade. I was inundated when I first came in. But here's the thing. Recruitment's changed a lot in the last year alone as well. So that has Vivien and I wondering, how much of this advice needs to be reevaluated? What traditional advice just needs an update? What traditional advice needs to get the boot? What new advice is starting to come up? So yeah, here to chat through this is your favorite Tactical Tuesday co-host, Vivien. Vivien, it's going to be a fun one.
Let's dive into it. You actually had this idea.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. So we are hiring right now across the board. And so I have been going through a lot of marketing candidates. And one thing that stood out for me was I used to be, I'll call a spade a spade. I used to be a dick when I was reviewing applications. If there was a single typo in it, I was just like, nope, they don't pay attention to detail. They're not in it. I'm declining them. But now as I'm going through some of these, the cover letters and everything else, I'm like, oh, there's a typo in it. I appreciate that because I know that person actually took the time to write this in the day of AI when everyone's just going in there and you see these perfectly crafted, robotic sounding cover letters where it's I can tell that someone didn't write that. So that's where, as we're talking about almost traditional advice that needs to be flipped on its head, 5 years ago, I would have never looked at that person. Now I'm just I almost want to give them a leg up because I know that they're taking the time to do it. So it's just one of those where it's I wonder what other things like this are changing. So yeah, I don't know. Fun little thought exercise here.
Yeah, that one is such a good one for sure, because even just before ChatGPT came on the scene, which was 2 years ago, I think, typos were an immediate disqualifier, which I always thought that was a little bit interesting, mainly because it's so easy to, in college, I used to write papers that were miles long, and I did my best. The content was good, the research was good, the arguments were really good, and then occasionally just something slipped in there, and if you're very familiar with it, you're glossing it over, you just don't even see it. And I don't want to read a 10-page paper backwards. I'm not gonna it's just not gonna happen. And so I've always tried, as a recruiter, I always try to be a little bit more forgiving, just because typos happen. But does that really matter if I'm talking to a chemist that they mistyped something? Not necessarily, if they know what they're doing in their lab.
Well, it depends
and
on
I
the
can find that out
chemical.
through...
If they're typing in a formula, that could be the difference between toothpaste and a bomb.
That's for sure. Yeah. And so it just depends on the kind of typo and the context and what are they doing? If it's just in the about me section that they had a little typo, that's different, because not everybody is really good at actually writing resumes. That's a whole craft in of itself. So I don't blame people for trying to leverage AI. I actually encourage it. Obviously, don't falsify your experience, make it your own, but have ChatGPT be your resume and career advisor. It's so helpful. But at the same time, when you are reviewing all of these applicants, you have no idea, is this ChatGPT? Is this Grok? Is this Gemini? Is this Claude? Or something else? Or am I actually reading this from the person and I can actually get to know them through this? So I think ultimately what's going to happen is maybe we'll go away from resumes altogether and move to something entirely different, because everything's just going to be spit out by a robot. But I think that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, probably. And even it's not necessarily the resume. So in some ways it's application questions, because it's more, I just want to know how you think. And when you just see regurgitated, like you can tell it's just like intaking the job description and then spitting that back out. It's like, okay, like that's just fluff. So yeah, fully agree. Like a conversation for another day. We'll come back to that one. Stay tuned for future, whatever episode that becomes. But okay, so we've got that kind of on like resumes. What are some other pieces of traditional advice that we should be stopping to think and go, is that still relevant?
Anything about how long somebody has been with a company. And so traditionally, it's if they've been with a company for 1 year or less, or even 2 years or less, then they're job hoppers. They're not worth the investment. But what people don't realize is since COVID, the job market has been so weird. There have been so many different layoffs and things like that. And so instead of just outright dismissing it, it's still worth having a conversation with that candidate because you really have no idea what's happening. And maybe they've been part of layoffs after layoffs after layoffs, and they've been doing a really great job at landing other jobs and getting back on their feet. And that's worth having a conversation that is somebody who's resilient, who works hard. And even if they have been very jumpy, hopping from one thing to another, especially if it's somebody who's in their early career, a lot of times when you're just starting out, you have no idea how to even screen your potential employer to see, is this going to be a good working relationship? Because you're so new, you have no clue. I mean, most people well into their careers have no idea how to do this and still end up in toxic and unfortunate bad work environments just because they don't know how to interview for that when they're actually getting interviewed. That's a skill. That's a different skill set on its own. And so just seeing these like jumps that doesn't mean a whole lot. Plus, and we talked about this in another episode, is high performers, they will keep jumping. So if you see that they've been moving quickly, maybe they've just outgrown that particular opportunity and they wanted to keep growing. And the only opportunities that they had was to go get another job. And so it's advice where if everything else is really good and you're just concerned about how long they've been with a particular employer or even have any gaps, don't let that be the reason why you're not considering a candidate. Have a conversation with them, give them a chance to explain what's happening. And depending on that, you can still decide not to move forward with them if there are any concerns, or move forward with them and see what happens.
Yeah, so traditional advice was they're not worth it. They're a job hopper. Scrap them. New advice is go get the context. There's probably more to the story than you realize. Okay. What's another?
The next one kind of like flows into that is don't even bother reaching out to somebody who has been at a company for less than a year. They're definitely not interested in leaving. And I've also heard this about people that have been in a company for a really long time, like 6-8 years, because then they're like, oh, they're never going to change. They're so used to this. They don't want to do anything different. You really don't know. I mean, a lot of stuff can, like, let's say somebody started a job December 2019. They probably were at their job for less than a year with everything that happened in 2020 and since then. And you never know whether it's actually the right role. Maybe they actually wanted to pivot, but this was the best thing that they could do. The other piece to that is you never know. Maybe they know of someone that is actually actively looking. So it's still good to reach out to them for reference purposes, because if you have someone with a specific experience that is actually really good and the only thing holding you back is they've been at this place for less than a year and the hiring manager is going to be weird about it or whatever, if it's the perfect candidate, does it really matter? No. So go for it.
Yeah. I'm much out of that one. I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm with you there. All right, let's keep the ball rolling.
All right, the next one that we have is they must have industry experience. And this one is always really interesting because I get the idea behind wanting that particular candidate to have experience in that particular industry, but at the same time, if they have everything else, it might actually be good to get somebody from a different industry altogether, or maybe from an adjacent one, just because they will have the right experiences, but in a different context. Every industry does things differently. So this is even something where I was working with a client where they've had somebody in that position since they left college and they started at that position. They've been grown in that position at that company for 10 plus years and they were leaving. And so they were actually looking for somebody that had experiences at multiple different companies. They were looking for somebody that was a little bit more jumpy because they were like, this previous person had no idea what they were doing. They had no other experiences. So it would actually be nice to have somebody from the industry that has experience at different companies, maybe an industry that is similar, just to bring a different take on it and think outside of the box. Because if you've been in that industry, especially if you're looking for somebody who's going to disrupt, fix things, and which most of the time that's the case for like management and upper management roles, that something needs to change. That's why you're looking for somebody new. And a lot of times having somebody that has a slightly different view on things and experiences might actually be really helpful for that one. So industry, that's something that people can learn. And usually people pick up on this really quickly, but having innovative ideas to do things differently, it's going to be really hard if they're trying to disrupt an industry standard. So having somebody from a different one, that just shakes things up, puts things upside down. And this is where innovation can actually happen.
Yeah, I really like that one. I'm a big fan of it, just across like learning in general, learn from different disciplines, see how you can translate it. Because to your point there, it's like if you're pulling someone that's been in the same industry, they're probably going to use the same playbook that you do, the same processes, the same this. So it's like, well, you're just following industry best practice. You're not going to stand out. You're going to have to do anything differently. Versus, say you're trying to grow. Every company's trying to grow. Most companies are trying to grow. Not every. That's a pretty bold statement. But if you look at, so say you're in manufacturing and you've stalled on growth, you can't figure it out. You've hired someone from the industry to lead your management team. They were there for 2 years. They couldn't figure it out. You've still kind of plateaued. Go hire someone from healthcare. Go hire someone from engineering. Go hire some, because I bet they've had to figure out growth, but they think about it in a completely different way, like you've said. So they might come with a different playbook, different models that, hey, you've tried the best practice industry way that clearly didn't work. So what's the worst that can happen here? So yeah, I'm a big fan of this one.
Plus, whatever might be the industry standard for healthcare, and it might not work there anymore, that might be a complete industry disruption in manufacturing and vice versa. And so even if they're just bringing in their experience and it's very standard for them, they're probably going to have a lot of fun trying to implement that where it's very uncommon and not industry standard.
Yeah. So people with growth mindset, like, ooh, fun new challenge. Let's go do this here. Okay.
I know, right?
Couple more.
My biggest pet peeve is probably they need to have a degree. It's like, but do they? I have a marketing degree, which ended up being so useless.
Hey, you're on this podcast. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So I don't know that there was anything in my marketing degree that actually helped me get here, but I graduated in 2016, and this was around the time where social media became really big, and that started to become the main place of doing marketing, advertisements, and things like that. And I remember while I was in college, the whole class that was studying marketing as their major was asking, what do we do with social media? How do we go about marketing? How do we go about ad budgets? How do we do Facebook advertisements? What about Google ads? What about SEO? And the take was always like, oh, just post. Oh, just put a bunch of keywords in. But we're going to focus on TV ads. We're going to focus on like research for which TV channel to select to air your ads and what time of the day.
PR.
Which, yeah. And that wasn't necessarily bad, but then when I ended up doing a little bit of like marketing and freelancing, I had to figure this out all on my own. And so do I really need a marketing degree for this? Or is this something that I can figure out through work experience? Not necessarily. Now, if you are a lawyer, you're a doctor, obviously you need to have the degrees to get your credentials and actually be a like licensed lawyer and doctor and all that fun stuff. So in those cases, it obviously makes sense. But are college degrees really critical, or do you just want that to be a college degree because they have finished something? And another thing that I want to add to that is I've actually talked to a person at a car manufacturer, and his whole job was to talk to local community colleges, get them up to speed on the curriculum, because in engineering specifically, especially for the automotive industry, the innovations happen so quickly. Colleges cannot keep up with that. So they were actually saying by the time that somebody graduates and starts with us, they're 5 years behind. We have to retrain them anyways. And so they actually started working with local community colleges, and they started putting a lot of money into going to high schools and encouraging students to do an apprenticeship program where they are working part-time and making money, and they're going to a community college, which is also a lot cheaper, and you could probably avoid student loans, which is a whole different conversation. lot of topics here.
Another future podcast topic.
And so it actually gave them the work experience, and the community colleges were working really closely with that manufacturer to teach the skills that actually were in demand by that particular manufacturer. And so they were giving back to the community, which was absolutely incredible, but it also put them on a really great trajectory. So during the apprenticeship program, which is only about 2 years, at the end of it, they were making $60K. Who makes $60K out of college these days? Most people, unfortunately, don't. And so is a college degree really all that necessary, especially if it's been 5+ years since they would have graduated college? At that point, they have 5+ years of work experience. Does it really matter if they've been working for 20 years? What are you talking about? They need a college degree. They have 20 years worth of experience. College degree doesn't make a difference here. What's going on?
Yeah.
So, yeah, hot take.
Yeah, common sense. I like that one. No, I mean, people just think. That's what you need to do. So, all right, this gets us into the last one.
Yeah. Recruiters. Love you guys. But every recruiter that I've ever talked to, they absolutely hate having to do data entry and admin heavy stuff and things like that. And we are well into AI development, and really cool stuff is coming out. And so there's a lot of stuff where AI can actually do the work for you, especially the very time consuming, low return on investment type activities like sourcing. And so, for example, Loxo has a really cool feature coming out called Agentics, where they will source for you. And there are so many other tools like note takers and things like that that you can start leveraging. But what I'm seeing a little bit is that recruiters are okay with typing something into ChatGPT, taking that into consideration, maybe implementing it. They're not ready to fully let go of the things that they constantly complain about and are very time consuming. So the number one thing that recruiters keep saying is they want more time networking, talking, building relationships, yet they're hesitant to actually let go and leverage AI to do the work for them. So I would say let go, trust, and just go with the flow. It will be okay.
Or at a minimum, experiment.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. Yeah, go in any group of recruiters, and you're gonna hear complaining about, spent so much time doing this. Had to spend so much time calling people. Had so much time sourcing people. Gathering information. It's a badge of honor almost. So it's like, what do I do with that time? Do the stuff that you enjoy doing. Have the conversations, work and do more biz dev and stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think that's one where we're gonna have to just kind of experiment a little bit more, see what you can do. Because part of it, I fully get it. Right now, I'm sourcing for roles. I could use Loxo's agentic AI to help me go about doing this. I could have it spit out, here's your long list, 300 candidates. Here's your short list, 100 candidates. I don't know. Do I trust it? I kind of want to do it on my own first. See if I pulled 100 people, have this pull it. Do that in the beginning. Let it see what happens, and you compare your list, and then get more comfortable with it, like you said. And I think over time, you'll find that you'll be okay giving up a lot of that stuff.
Plus, a lot of I don't think recruiters are realizing that AI is moving very quickly and developing, and you have to get on board. Otherwise, you're going to get spit out. You're not going to be able to keep up, and people are going to pass you by. And being at the forefront of any AI related innovations and recruitment is going to keep you ahead of the game, because just look at what happened in the last 2 years in terms of AI tools. 2 years ago, ChatGPT came out. Now we have note takers. We have Loxo that can source for you. And there's a lot more fun features coming with that this year. So a lot of development has happened really, really quickly. And there are still a lot of people that don't even want to use AI. And this is something that Matt talked about, that if you start now, that gap is going to be less and less. But 5 years down the line, that's going to be such a big, big gap where you're going to be so behind. It's going to be really, really hard to catch back up. You don't want to be on the catch up side of things. You want to be on the leading side of things.
Yeah, that's a perfect place to end this. Couldn't say it better. Couldn't wrap this up better. So Vivien, as always, appreciate you coming on. This was a fun one. Gets people thinking. We've been getting a little bit more to these. They're philosophical, tactical, however you want to combine those words. We'll start. Maybe that's going to be the new name. Tactical. I don't know. I'll come up with something better next time, y'all. Sorry. Anyway, appreciate the good conversation here as always. So,
tactilosophy.
Ooh.
Okay.
Tactilosophy Tuesday. Guys, we just need to end this episode. I'm so sorry. Anyone who's bared with us for this long, I'm going to wrap it up here. Becoming a Hiring Machine is a production of Loxo. If you did like this episode, but you're not sure where to go next, we do have a link. We don't have similar tactic philosophy ones yet, but we will soon. You can find the show notes in the description of your favorite podcast streaming platform, as well as on our website. We do have full video episodes available on YouTube. If you have questions, send them away, podcast@loxo.co. And lastly, if you love this episode, which I know you do, make sure that you leave us a quick rating in your podcast streaming platform. It takes you 3 seconds. Going to help you find... Guys, I'm sorry. It's going to help other recruiters like you to find us. That's a wrap for today. This was a great Tactical Tuesday with Vivien. Until next time, bye y'all.